Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is Monday, July 1st. We are now into the month of July. And I have a ton to talk about, and I'm not going to have enough time, and I'm not going to hit all the points I want to hit. So let's just say that straight up front. Because a lot has gone on since we did our podcast. And on Saturday, which you should listen to, 3 hours that we did. And things have changed since we did our podcast. But let's talk about our podcast first of all, because the last time you heard from me, I said we're doing it on YouTube Live. And then things didn't work out that way. So I am going to give you a very quick answer to why it didn't happen. For those of you that are techie, you may want more information. For those of you that are not techie, you probably don't give a damn, but I'm a tech person, so I'm going to do that. So we planned it. Scott and I had tested it out. We've done a couple of several minute tests where he'd fired up YouTube Live, and he talked. I'd listened. I'd said, "Yep, sounds like it's working. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yep." And so we presumed all was good. And so the time came. Scott flipped the switch, fired it up. Well, there was a couple of things. First of all, the start time with YouTube Live, you can set a start time. And Scott, I think, was thinking 9 p.m. in his head, but that's 9 p.m. his time, is 10 p.m. Eastern. Since he's on Central Time, and that kind of confused things, although it didn't really matter as far as you pushed the button to start it, so it was more the countdown was confusing. However, it turned out there was 2 different rooms running at the same time as well. So that would have all worked out in the end. We would have gathered everybody up into the right room and killed the first room before we started talking. Our plan was to not start the show actually until we were sure everyone was, knew where they were going. Problem is that then Scott's computer overheated and died. Scott's computer that he uses to stream the audio is what he usually does. He just stream audio on Mixler. Is not a high-end machine. It's a replacement machine he got several years ago. Inexpensive laptop that he purchased to when he had a computer die. And it works fine for streaming audio, which is what we're doing for the most part. Even if we're doing YouTube Live, we weren't going to have videos of ourselves running. But in YouTube Live, you still have to stream a video. They want video content. And so basically what you do is you fire up we were streaming a static video picture, but that is still streaming video, and that still requires encoding by the laptop and processing power. And it overloaded the computer. And the computer shut down, overheated, reset, and then we had to wait for it to come back up. And we knew it would just happen again. Once it happened once, it's like, okay, it can't, that computer cannot handle it. And so Scott does not have a computer really that can handle that kind of streaming that's required by YouTube, plus doing other things. And so the decision was made to go back to Mixler, and that's what we did. At this point, I don't think we're going to try YouTube Live. I would love to do YouTube Live, but Scott doesn't have the computing power to do it. So that's that. We're not going to try for me to stream our show, because remember, Scott's the one doing all the mixing and everything. And so me streaming his audio feed, it would be just too involved, too intricate. In theory, our thought is that we don't care as much about the live content as we do about making the podcast. And so it's just not worth the pain and suffering to get that live content going, at least this year or for now. And so I think we're back on Mixler. Who knows? Something miraculous may happen, and we may decide to go to live, but I don't think it's going to go to live YouTube Live. But I don't think it's going to happen this year unless a nice fancy computer that can do this drops out of the air. Scott didn't seem to have any interest in spending a chunk of change to make that purchase. And I don't blame him, because we only do, that's only maybe 14, 15 times a year that we need that. And that's a lot of money to spend when he's perfectly, the rest of his days of the year, he's perfectly fine doing what he's doing. And we aren't making that much money off of our show to offset the cost. of a whole new computer. All right. That all being said, it was a good show. We talked about a lot. Where we left it off, well, we thought there was a chance. No, they had changed it. That by the end of the show, we said it looks like Ovi's going to go up after the power veto ceremony. And sure enough, on Sunday, the power veto ceremony was held. And Christy pulled a little, I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know Sam was going to use it. He came up in the last minute, Ovi, I'm sorry. And I had to dash and make a choice of who was most likely to stay and make sure that Catherine got evicted. And so I went with you, which is all bullshit because she told Catherine, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend and tell Ovi that he's safe. You got to keep a good, be smart. So Ovi is now nominated versus Catherine. At this point, Ovi's leaving on Wednesday. Also know that we watched Sunday's show and finally saw the Wackety Power. Now, the Wackety Power, I don't have a list written down anywhere with me or anything, but what we do know is who got to compete last night, and I can't even remember who all competed last night. What was it? Cliff, Nicole, I think Bella, Ovi, and Catherine. There was 5 people, so there's 3 groups of 5. I was thinking 4 groups of 4, but there's 3 groups of 5. So I think we missed one on our list on our podcast, but they all competed. As it turned out, Ovi won. Oh, well, and I'd already seen the reaction of Ovi finding out he was nominated, and he was not happy. So I thought, well, whatever this power is that Ovi just won, it doesn't appear that it can save him this week. And this is going to be the confusing part for people still. It's being debated. I think maybe people have finally figured it out, but it's been debated. The way the power is described is it's this nightmare. It was a nightmare theme, so it's a nightmare power. After, and you can't, he could have used it this past nominations because this is all done before the feeds went live. After nominations, you can basically change the head of, you can make the head of household renominate. It's not, they said you wake them up, they got to get out of bed, it's a nightmare, blah, 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 blah. The whole point is that after the house guest has made their nominations, you exert your power and everybody has to get up and the head of household immediately has to redo nominations. They can't, the people that were nominated are safe for the rest of the week. There's static. The people that were nominated are safe for the rest of the week. And, there you go. Now, people are like, oh, Ovi can save himself. No, it had to have been done after the initial nominations. That was not, the way the card was read did not say after the initial nominations, but it pretty much implied after nominations and not after POV. If it had been at any point, then he could do it at any point. And if it could have been at any point, then you'd never want to use it after the initial nominations. You'd want to wait until after the power veto and everything was said and done and locked in. And then you go, nope, those don't work. You got to put somebody else up. And so that, in that case, Ovi would have been able to save himself. And it said nobody would know you used the power. I don't know how nobody would know. They'd know one of 5 people, and you would assume one of the 2 people nominated were the 2 that got it because, they got saved by it. But whatever. It, unless they didn't tie it into the power, but they'd have to. You'd have to guess that's who did it. One of those people. And you'd guess either Catherine or Kemi. Or Catherine or Ovi, not Kemi. Kemi did not get nominated. And that was, Christy was doing the flip where she didn't feel comfortable. Now, there's all kinds of talk about this, about that Christy was talked out of it. Christy had always been saying she wasn't super crazy about it. I think she may have been prodded that, are you going to try to make that change? Or are you going to let, Jack run this? Or I don't know. I won't doubt it. We've always had feelings that the house guests can kind of be pushed and prodded into changing their mind or helped along the way to make their decision. But Ovi's up, Catherine. Ovi has a power that he probably won't be able to use. He'll be evicted. If he comes back in the house with a buyback, the term buyback meaning that one of the evicted house guests gets to get back into the house, will he bring the power back in with him? Probably. I don't see why they wouldn't let him bring it back in with them, but the odds of all of that happening are pretty slim, so let's not spend too much time worried about that until it happens. If Ovi gets evicted, and if Ovi then gets back in the house, then we can look at the calendar on the wall and go, oh, look, he still has one eviction left where he can use this power. Then he'll have to, then he'll have to be nominated. The only way you're going to use this power is if you're nominated. Because, although it could be fun, now you wouldn't want to do that. Imagine if you're a head of household, you make the nominations, and then you force yourself to remake the nominations and pretend like, oh my God, somebody did this to me. I'm sorry. I was going to put them up, but I couldn't. You make the nominations that the House wants, but you don't really want, and then you force yourself to change them and go like, sorry guys, I wanted to do what you wanted, but I had to change my mind. That'd be fun. It's not going to happen, but it'd be fun. All right, so that's where we're at as of last night. It was fairly calm. After all this, Ovi's being reassured, Catherine's behaving a little bit better. Then I see this morning that late, and I mean by late, I mean within the past 3 or 4 hours, 2 or 3 hours, some of the girls have formed a Black Widow alliance. All right? Now, it's 4 girls. And the 4 girls are, and this is where I go like, okay, whatever. Nicole and Jessica and Kemi and Bella. All right, Bella, you're putting yourself on the outs. You're forming an outside alliance with none of your people in this 8. That 8-person alliance is pretty, sketchy at best. Nick and Bella are kind of pretty far out of it. But the fact that those 4 are forming this Black Widow alliance and deciding how they're going to run it, and they're not going to bring Tommy in. That's what I saw on one of the people's posts, because Kemi has a sketchy feeling about Tommy. This has all the sounds of a Black Widow. It sounds like a great alliance name. That may be enough to get you on TV, but I don't think it's going to go very far. Those 4 don't have a great sense of the game. I mean, a couple of them are, Bella's in an alliance in theory, but she's not being kept in the loop on a lot of stuff. And Kemi, I just don't think that this alliance is going to do a whole lot. It could be wrong. It'll be interesting. If one of them wins at a household on Wednesday, I guess then we'll see. But until that point, I don't put much stock in this alliance. We're going to have 2 guys evicted. The guys that are in the stronger alliances at this point should probably be saying, hey, we've put out 2 guys. Let's get rid of some women now. Even things up a tad, because we don't want it to be a girls running the whole bit. Girls have won the last 2 seasons, right? Yeah, Nicole and KC. So, of course, the guys may not even think about that kind of a thing. All right, hey, I got done quicker than I thought. Amazing. That's what's up. It's going to be fairly quiet, I think, until Wednesday. I mean, Catherine may start to freak out. There's going to be talk of alliances, a shuffling again of, well, what are we going to do? This is what's going to happen. I'm sure some of that will happen. But in the end, I don't think Catherine's going. And I have to agree with Scott that her nuttiness does bring something. Her diary room seemed very genuine, just a whole, I don't give a damn. This is what I'm going to do. It felt unrehearsed. And all the diary rooms now feel so scripted and rehearsed. Like, let's do 2 or 3 takes of the way you want to say this. And her diary room seemed like she just said it once and they go, that's good, we got it. And I like that. So that's what's up, guys. I don't know why people are saying this show isn't interesting. I'm finding it interesting. I'm finding lots going on. I don't have any strong alliances rooting for at this point. Things are still fleshing themselves out. I really want to like Christy, but man, she is a bit wacky, crazy. It'll be interesting to see when she's not in power how she handles things. That will be the test, because right now she's very strong and very, opinionated, and I think that will start to fall apart when she's not in power. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. All right, I'm not going to keep talking to myself at this point. I think I've said enough. I think I've told you what's going on, and I hope you guys have a good Monday. I will talk to you all tomorrow, later today if something really weird happens, but probably not. If I come up with something that I forgot to talk about, if I haven't answered a question, please holler at me. Those of you that are not patrons, remember, we're giving away. It was funny last night when we talked about it. Colette lets out this big sigh. We're giving away a bag. One bag. My thought is that we're going to make it available. Anybody that's a patron for this month, the month of July, make one of them available. So, like right at the beginning of August, we will take the patrons of record, and we will throw their names in a hat, pull it out a name, and give them a tote. We'll give them say, which one do you want? That's how my thought is. Give the first winner first dibs, and give the second winner second dibs. So that's it. Sign up at patreon.com. I think then just search for Big Brother Gossip Show. I think if you do / Big Brother Gossip, it'll work, but I'm not 100% sure. I think my URL just for these car casts that I do is BBGOSSIP. If you search for Mike's Big Brother Gossip Show, if you search for Big Brother Gossip, I think you'll find both patron accounts. But the small one is just me, myself, and I. The other one is for our podcast. So if you have to pick one, by all means, pick the one that's for all of us, for our big show. But some people have, in addition, wanted to throw a little bit my way for these car casts, and so that's why I set up this other one last year. All right, I'm done talking. I talked again for another 5 minutes after I said I was done talking. Wow, only 18 minutes. Not bad. You guys have a good Monday. We will talk to you tomorrow. All right? See you later. Bye-bye.